Alright.
Another one for you.
We were talking about the verse in Matthew 5, verse 23 and 24. It says, so if you're presenting a sacrifice, aka gift, at the altar in the temple, and you suddenly remember that someone has something against you, leave your sacrifice there at the altar. Go and be reconciled to that person. Then come and offer your sacrifice to God. What were we saying about that?
It's so hard to re-articulate. These videos are always re-articulation videos.
Yeah. We'll be like, oh yeah, that was a good point.
But I guess essentially is what we're trying to get at is that is being instituted because there's got to be this, there's something that's coming in between you and the Lord, and that is causing this dissonance. If you went and presented an altar and someone had something against you, like you cheated them out of something or whatever, you're cheapening the gift that you're actually given, and the Lord is not really concerned with said things. But I think this is much, much deeper than what it seems to be on surface level. So I likened it to when we are, if we go through a tiff, like if Jalleh and I go through a tiff together, if there's something one of us are suppressing against one another, our relationship is entirely different.
Yeah.
We treat each other different. We are aggy, or we're irritated, we're easily triggered.
Yeah.
We find silent treatment. All this stuff ends up happening. But once, if we take that step and we actually are completely transparent and and we hash it out together and we talk about it, it ends up being like this.
Yeah.
I'm glad that's over.
Yeah.
I'm glad I was able to get this off my chest. I'm glad we were able to speak. Or even if
we're bonded again.
We're bonded again, and then we can move on.
Yeah. I think the idea behind this is much deeper than like God. God is offended, right? Like when we sin, you are causing this separation between you and the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
But I think God is always, like we talk about, God is always after the heart.
Mm-hmm.
So really the reason for that though is that because that offense that was done against another person has now created division between you and him.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I think of is that hashing out whatever might have been done against this person, coming before the Lord, because ultimately Scripture tells us it's against him alone have we sinned.
Right.
So coming to the Lord, seeking forgiveness for that, and then going and reconciling with your brother.
Right.
But I think what happens in that process is you're deepening your relationship with God.
Yes.
And that's really what God is after.
Right. Because I would say he's definitely working through that.
Yeah.
You know, all of God's things are multifaceted, and that could be a whole different video. But there's something else that's actually just occurred to me. I believe it's in Romans. There may be, like, so far as it depends on you, I think that's a detail. Because like if somebody could have something against you and you go and try and reconcile and they're like, yeah, but blah, 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 and it just ends up being this mess.
Yeah.
And it's always, as long as you are operating in a clear conscience,
right,
that, hey, I've done everything that I could to where I wanted to wipe the record clean. I wanted to make sure it was right. I'm transparent. I want to, there's this righting of the wrong. I have performed an infraction. I blah, 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 and all this other stuff. So long as it depends on you. So I think the clear, when you were saying God is after your heart, right. That's absolutely it. And I think it's forcing us to operate in a realm, or it's forcing us to always operate with a clear conscience. You come before the Lord clean.
Yeah.
You are unclean. I am unclean. Everybody is unclean. But we come before the Lord clean, meaning I'm transparent. I'm everything. Everything is left out. I have no ulterior motive. I've come broken before you.
Yeah, I think, so I guess what we were trying to say about that verse is like as many things are in God's academy, multi-faceted reasoning.
Oh,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? So is he trying to reconcile you with your brother? Absolutely, because what is it? Love conquers all evil. We want, you know, to
Right.
come before our brother repentant and stuff like that.
But if your brother is unwilling,
what can you do?
Right.
You at least have tried.
I'm sorry, were you that? Was that where you're going?
No.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Hijack that one, sorry.
Yeah, now I've completely lost my train of thought. Thanks, babe.
Sorry.
No. I think the point I was getting at was like using the illustration that you gave between a husband and wife, because I think what we were trying to express is that the deep purpose, maybe, and I don't want to speak for God, but this is just kind of my take on it, is that he doesn't want this separating you and him, whatever that is.
Right.
Like that infraction that a husband may have made toward a wife, or a wife has made toward a husband.
Right.
There's, and you know what that is. Anybody who's married or been married or whatever, you know what that feels like. There's this feeling of separation. There really is. There's this feeling of like, we are not united. You know what I mean? Right now, there's this division. And I think God, when I mentioned earlier, he's after the heart. He's wanting to close that gap. And, you know, like, oh, and we talked about as often as people would bring their sacrifice or their gift, from what I read somewhere later on, I think it was in Corinthians, it talked about like their offering was once a week. So when God talks about like before you bring your gift before the altar, this is like every week you have an opportunity to self-examine.
Right.
So I think
that should build a habit.
Yeah. So that's what I think is so cool about that too, is that it forces you, before you bring your gift or your offering before the altar, it's like, it forces you to take a step back and think about like, who have I maybe wronged, or you know, just, and bringing those things before the Lord.
And also, with that self-reflection, it forces you to, it's like, I should act on that.
Yeah.
And go, and I think this is an interesting detail too. And this may be, you can say, I can dish this out to the married couples that are out there. Do you realize it was the injuring party who is responsible to go? That to me is something to say. If I have a personal, I'll use myself. If I injured my wife and I'm self-reflecting and I know that I've done wrong, it is my duty to go to her and say it, not wait for her to bring it up. Yeah. I really don't appreciate when you, those conversations are good, but teaching yourself humility or operating humility, which means you're not thinking of yourself at all. That means you have to eliminate your pride, your ego, your all this other stuff, and just come in and admit fault to another person. I know I did this, and I am sorry.
Right.
Whoa. Ask a lot of people to do that, and most of them have problems with doing it. You know, some people say, I have no problem saying that when I'm wrong and stuff like that. I hear that said all the time, but I never see it done. It's like, I hardly see it done.
When
you
the
know
rubber meets the road.
I was like, okay, I'm curious when this is going to happen. You know what I mean? But I just thought, just thinking about it, it's just like there was a detail that came up to where it's like, if you have done wrong, you go.
Yeah.
Not wait for someone to come and say, hey man, I really didn't appreciate it. It's like, you know what? My bad. Yeah. It's not how it's supposed to go down.
Where,
you know what I mean?
I guess accountability, you know, God holds us accountable, each of us to our own.
And he's also, there's a requirement, well, not a requirement, I guess it's a requirement, but he's giving us counsel. This is how you're supposed to handle it. If you know you did something wrong, that means you have to unbiasedly look at it.
Yeah.
Like remove yourself from it. It's like, is this wrong?
Right.
If you know you did something wrong, you go.
Yeah.
Admit it and reconcile the problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, if you go and admit that, and that's where I'm just taking another step further. If you go and you do that, and you guys are reconciled, it's like, you're gonna feel like, weight off my shoulders. I feel so much better now.
Glory.
To God be the glory. Now, if you go and it's not received, it's like, you know, there should still be a weight that's going to be lifted off, because like, I did what I could. I did what I thought was going to make all this,
we did also talk about that, like how it's really for our good as well. You know what I mean? We understand that the offense is something that creates division between you and God, right? That's a given. but at the same time, God is doing something in you to release you from whatever you might be bearing, like the guilt you might be bearing, the shame you might be bearing, or like, you know, whatever.
Or what you're holding on to.
Or what you're holding on to, a
like,
grudge or
are you gonna let your ego go?
Yeah.
Come on
Exactly.
now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like, you know,
yeah,
are you gonna, I was like, but I'm right. Are you?
Right.
You know, it's like,
Right.
you know, it's
because
like, you know.
ultimately, you continuing to live in that is bondage. And so when I think about this verse, I know maybe we're taking it so deep, but like the fact that you would have to come before the altar weekly in self-examination, God is doing that to release you, to set you free, to set that heart free from whatever you might be holding on to.
So, I mean, granted, I don't think out of this, hopefully this is something that blessed you guys, but that was something that was just, I guess it was instituted that they had to do.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer that all those things are just, the Old Testament is the New Testament concealed, and the New Testament is the Old Testament revealed. I think that's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's not a, I have to do this it's Sunday or Saturday, depending on or whatever. I don't care what day you choose. It's one day a week. I'm going to sit and self-reflect, and then if you realize, oh, I did this wrong, go. No, you should be just continually living. Yeah. In a state that.
Yeah.
You know,
but just
Lord,
the fact that was like, you know, a time when God said,
right.
Before
No,
you bring
I'm understanding that, but I'm
just,
saying the four that was those. Well, I forget what scripture it was. Is it Galatians? All that stuff, or Colossians, or just foreshadowings of what was to come. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the great thing to come, and so all those. Yeah,
just living in an attitude.
Just living in an attitude that where like
reflection. Yeah.
I want to always. How often should you pray? Well, I pray every morning. I pray. But Paul says, pray without ceasing. Well, how do I do that? We're constant communication here, thinking and
I think we get so Lord, wrapped around the axle sometimes, like when we look at these verses as like, oh, nitty gritty. You know what I mean? Like some things, sure, maybe are. I don't know, but like the fact that this is just something that God institutes as just a way for you, like communion, for example. You know, like we may have our traditions of doing it once a week, once
a month, only at church,
right?
You know what I mean?
God mentions it as often as you can.
Yeah, do it often.
Do it often, yeah. Right? But that he set something that in motion or in place just as a way for us to be reminded of God's sacrifice, and it's for this purpose, for relationship. It's not for you to go and make it like a religious.
Don't make it into another work.
Yeah.
It's not. It's like we're getting away from that, and I think that Christ ultimately was that. You guys got this all wrong. I'm here to set the book straight.
Yeah.
While he's setting the book straight, while fulfilling all of the 613 laws that you guys can't keep in the first place. You know what I mean? So that's what to me is like, wow.
Yeah.
Not only are you going to fulfill the old to a T perfectly, but you're going to educate us on this is what the real reason.
Yeah.
This is what all these are speaking about.
Right.
This is the point. You're missing the point here.
You know, like when he says, "You've heard it said, but I say."
Oh,
you know what I mean? All those.
Sermon on the Mount.
Yeah, exactly. But like when he talks about, for example, if you even have hatred toward someone, you've murdered them in the heart, right? Or if you lusted after another,
you've committed adultery in your heart.
But it's all in the heart. You know what I mean? So
he raises the bar.
Yeah, exactly.
He raises the bar.
Exactly.
Well,
but
go ahead.
No, what I just think is so beautiful about that, and I think tying back to what we were talking about earlier, is because God is constantly after the heart. It's not about like us.
Your performance.
And us living to some kind of like standard, you know what I mean? Like this impeccable standard, perfection or whatever. That's not the point. And if we feel like we're living that way, you're not doing it right. Right.
We're missing the point.
We're missing the point. It's the point he was getting at is because he's after the heart, and he's trying to set that heart free from bondage. So.
Amen to that.
Yeah. Do we wrap up here?
I think we should.
Okay.
Turn these ashes into beauty.
What did you? Oh no, that's not. I was thinking of justice and mercy. Meet at the cross.
I might.
That's a different song.
Yeah, it's a different song.
Anyway, we love you guys.
We have musical Tourette's sometimes.
Yes, we do.
Just
You were telling
break
me the
out.
other woman this morning.
What were
Like
we
if
singing?
you did a video montage.
Yeah,
of
I
like
could do
all the-
I could do a video montage of Jalleh in the mornings. What were you singing this morning?
Oh, I don't know if I should say here.
Are you wearing two faces, Jalleh? I'll sing it. Here, whisper it.
I
I'll
can't
tell.
remember. No,
I'll
I
whisper
can't
it.
remember what it was.
Almost picture notes.
Oh. No, baby, I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness.
I'm
Alright.
just messing with you. But
I would have sang it for you if I remember it. I remember I was doing like an Indian accent with it. I can't remember.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for bearing with us.
Whatever.
Please.
It doesn't matter.
All right.
May God bless you. May He keep you. May He cause His face to shine upon you. We love each and every one of you out there. Be real. Understand He's after your heart. And we're here for you guys.
Yeah.
Questions, comments?
Let us know.
We're here.
Comment section. We do read them.
We do.
You guys never write anything.
All two of them. Maybe one.
Usually 0.
That's all right.
But no, it's okay.
It doesn't matter.
It's okay. We do this because we get excited, and if it's just for us, that's okay. But
You're along for our ride if you're
Yeah.
interested.
yeah.
You might be at work, ain't doing nothing right now, stealing money. As my dad said. Hey, what are you doing? You're on your phone, stealing money.
Oh,
Just-
jeez. Goodness.
I'm kidding. All right.
Okay.
Love
All
you
right,
guys.
Love you guys. Bye.
Peace out.